This week of Mini Scroll is sponsored by Qatar Airways Student Club Loyalty Program. As you all know, last week, one of my founder dreams came to fruition when I spoke at Web Summit in Doha, and Qatar Airways helped make that dream happen for me. But it's not just me. I'm sure you have all scrolled past travel videos on TikTok and dreamed about actually going. And now, with Qatar Airways Student Club, those travel dreams are more attainable than ever. Qatar Airways Student Club, powered by Privilege Club, where members earn and redeem Avios, offers students extra perks when traveling, whether it's heading home for the holidays or just taking a well-earned break. You can even earn points through One World Alliance Airlines and Virgin Australia's Velocity Frequent Flyer program when you fly from Australia. Students can get savings on flights as well as an extra 10 kilograms of baggage allowance, which is perfect for chronic overspenders and overpackers like me. The best part, it's free to join. Visit qatarairways.com/student club. A big thank you to Qatar Airways Student Club for supporting Mini Scroll and helping make our dreams a reality.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday. My name is Annabelle, and I am your Wednesday Mini Scroll host, and also the deputy editor of the youth digital media brand Centennial World. Okay, so welcome back to Mini Tech Scroll, everyone. I can't believe we only had 1 week off. It feels like weeks since I have last recorded an episode for you guys. That might partially be because last week was a big week for everyone. I mean, Lauren was at the conference. I actually ended up moving houses and also saw Billie Eilish last week. So it was definitely quite hectic. But if you guys have the opportunity to go to the Hit Me Hard and Soft tour, you definitely should. It was amazing. And I am jealous of anyone who has tickets and has yet to go. But anyway, I am very happy to be back after Lauren's conference. And speaking of the conference, I hope you guys enjoyed the surprise content that Lauren posted from Web Summit. That felt very Mini Tech Scroll appropriate. So if you haven't watched that episode, you should definitely go check it out. I thought it was super interesting. Otherwise, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Infinite Scroll. We are on the journey to 1K Spotify star reviews, so please help us out there if you can. My first story for today is a little bit of a different one to what I've previously covered on Mini Scroll. I recently came across a report from Patreon that had some interesting findings that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm sure we've all heard of Patreon before, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, Patreon is a platform that many creators use to monetize their content. It essentially operates like a subscription service where creators tend to use it to publish bonus content or even not safe for work content. In the report published by the platform titled State of Create, it looked into how the creator economy is changing. Before we get into the most interesting findings, I just wanted to quickly give you some insight into the methodology of the research. Through August 2024, the company surveyed 1,000 creators and 2,000 fans to gain insight into their experience of the digital world. And for context, a majority of both the fans and the creators were millennial. Anyway, let's get into some of the most interesting findings. The first point that I found to be quite telling was that over half of the polled creators said that it is harder to reach their followers today than it was 5 years ago. This isn't totally unsurprising. I mean, I'm sure we all find ourselves getting more and more content from people that we don't necessarily follow on social media, mostly because of the way algorithms are set up today. And this obviously has its pros and cons. Some of the positives is that it can introduce you to outside perspectives on certain topics, but of course, for people who just want to see content from their friends or favorite creators, this structure is becoming increasingly frustrating for many of us. While this is definitely annoying for the average social media user and consumer, it is especially frustrating for creators, 60% of whom say that platforms like Instagram fail to show their fans some of their, quote, most important work. Some other interesting findings from the report were around short and long form content. We have definitely been seeing for years that long form content is making a comeback, especially with the rise of video essays and, of course, podcasting. And the report shows the value of this kind of content, with 52% of fans saying that long-form content offers more value, even though 61% said that they tend to engage with its short-form counterpart more frequently. This also isn't entirely surprising to me, but I think it is validating to see it shown in data, especially because long-form content definitely allows for more nuance, context, and the opportunity to build a rapport with the creator in question. So I actually came across this report last week when I was reading the Posting Nexus Substack written by Julia Alexander while I was prepping the newsletter. So if you are subscribed to the newsletter, you might have seen some drips and drabs of this story already. But she had some really interesting insights about the findings that I included in the newsletter, but I also wanted to reiterate them here. She made the point that the goal of platforms these days is to, quote, provide everything people need within one space. And I'm sure we've all seen this shift with virtually every platform incorporating short form video and AI in one way or another. I think LinkedIn is the most egregious. The fact that LinkedIn now has short form video feels kind of insane to me, but I guess here we are. This is the era we're living in. Anyway, with this, she adds that platforms are essentially in a battle for people's attention, which is a conversation that we are always having around the attention economy. But she says to keep people's attention, platforms are designed to remove unnecessary steps to find something to watch. Noting the consequences, she says, quote, not only does this make creators more reliant on the whims of dominant platforms to earn revenue, but those same platforms are no longer prioritizing creators so much as content. Even though content is king, building a loyal core fan base, quote unquote, remains central to the influencer experience and ensuring longevity. But it's also becoming harder to achieve because platforms are firstly designed to discourage users from leaving the app and also showing users people that they aren't necessarily familiar with. Quote, if the Instagrams, YouTubes, and TikToks of the world want creators to continue putting in the effort of full-time labor to produce videos, they need to make it easier for those creators to survive off smaller audiences. That only happens by encouraging core fans to follow their absolutely favorite creators to third-party websites where those creators can maintain a stronger direct-to-fan relationship rather than a simple direct-to-consumer one. So her analysis was definitely pulled from the Patreon reporting, and I will just say, given that these findings are coming from Patreon, I don't think it's a surprise that they would have data backing that platforms need to foster a direct-to-fan relationship because that is what Patreon does best. But even though this may be biased, I don't disagree with its premise because if you're a loyal fan of one creator, it's definitely becoming more and more difficult to follow them and keep up with their lives. And in turn, it's becoming harder for creators to build a loyal fan base. We all know the power of fandom, so it makes total sense to me that the creator economy should be capitalizing on this and moving in this direction for the sake of creators and users alike. In terms of money, this is obviously super lucrative. As the report reads, quote, according to internal Patreon research, over half of the $290 billion that encompasses today's creator economy comes from direct-to-fan value, like ticket sales, courses, live streams, and paid memberships. So let's move on to the next story. This one is a short one, but I felt the need to share this out of nostalgia, and that is that Skype is officially shutting down. Launched in 2003, Skype was one of, if not the most popular calling platform throughout the early 2000s. It was used by many because of the way it ensured, quote, highly secure calls with end-to-end encryption, meaning it was virtually impossible for internet hackers or spies to listen in on calls and conversations. This sort of functionality is now very common online and is used on messaging apps ranging from Messenger to WhatsApp to iMessage. But as recent reporting from TechCrunch notes, quote, Skype's encryption was a revolutionary and groundbreaking feature at the time. Even though Skype definitely wasn't as secure as it was made out to be, it was clear that it set a precedent for platforms to come. At this point, Skype is not necessarily the platform that many of us will go to if we want to call someone online. I remember when I was like 7 or 8, how prolific this platform was. Everyone in my year group would use the platform to call and message one another. But now Skype's role in the digital landscape has essentially been usurped by Zoom and other video calling services. With that being said, Microsoft, which is Skype's parent company since 2009, announced last week that it will be shutting down the application on May 5th. Even though Skype is being closed, it seems like Microsoft is kind of pushing Skype users to Teams because users will soon be able to log into Teams using their Skype login, where their contacts and chat histories will also migrate to the platform. From researching this episode, I found that there are around 30 million people who continue to use Skype. And for further context, Skype once had around 300 million users, so that has definitely dropped significantly. I think this just goes to show how much the social media landscape is really constantly changing and how there are perceived fixtures in the space that might not have the longevity that we think they do. And I think Skype is a really interesting example because of the way it really set a precedent for chat platforms to come. I really liked how kind of this point was expressed in a TechCrunch article, so I'll just read you the quote now. While Skype is largely a relic of yesteryear and will soon stop operating, Skype's legacy lives on in the technology that secures the communications of all the world's most popular chat apps. And the world is a safer, freer place thanks to Skype's original developers' groundbreaking ideas about privacy. So the next story I have for you today is a little Twitch update in that the platform has opened up its monetization policies to more creators. On February 27th, Twitch CEO Dan Clancy shared the priorities the platform is pursuing for this year, one of them being for more users to access monetization tools. As Clancy wrote in the Twitch blog, quote, "In 2025, we're excited to open up monetization tools, being subscriptions and bits, to most streamers from day one. This will allow creators, regardless of their status, to grow their communities and start building earnings through direct patronage. We're also introducing an option which will allow all streamers to use their earnings on purchases within Twitch." The blog post also announced, among other things, shared hype trains that will allow streamers who are using Stream Together or Shared Chat to explore, quote, "other monetization features that can be used when you are collaborating to drive more revenue, like shared sub goals." I mean, Twitch has long been criticized for the way it treats its creators and streamers, so I think it's positive that it is opening up opportunities for monetization. Over the years, we have seen many creator boycotts over how Twitch treats the streamers and also monetization problems. One notable one was in 2023, I think, where Twitch revealed it would start acting as the middleman for sponsorship deals between creators and brands. And obviously, many streamers did go on to voice their concerns over this new structure, claiming that it would take a large chunk of sponsorship money away from streamers. On top of this, it is important to note that Twitch already takes quite a significant cut from streamer revenue. From what I've seen, Twitch typically takes around a 50% cut of subscriber revenue, but does reduce its share between 30 to 40% for some of its top creators. Nonetheless, while Twitch may be hoping to support creators with this move, opening up these monetization opportunities is also a clear benefit for them. But I fear that is just also how the creator economy works sometimes, unfortunately. And the last story for today is that Instagram is reportedly considering launching a separate Reels app as a competitor to TikTok. This isn't confirmed by any means, but I've seen a few reports, so I wanted to flag it in case something does come of this. According to the BBC, Instagram is debating launching Reels as a standalone app with TikTok's future uncertain in the US. This came from The Information, with the BBC citing a source who heard remarks when Instagram chief Adam Mosseri informed staff about the potential move. I don't really know how I feel about this potential decision from Instagram, especially after Meta's mixed success with Threads. While many Instagram users immediately signed up to Threads, it has definitely been a challenge keeping users engaged on Threads and creating a culture of its own. That said, I do think a shift to a Reels standalone app might be easier than Threads because Reels already has an audience creating video content on Instagram, and video content feels much more natural to Instagram than text posts do. Still, getting people to adjust to a new app isn't exactly so easy. First of all, I think we are all overwhelmed by the amount of apps that are on the market right now, but also because I think people just use Reels for the convenience and the fact that it's just there. As much as I love the brain rot on Reels, it is literally insane. I don't find myself actively seeking out Reels. If I want short form video, I will go to TikTok, and I just happen to come across Reels when I'm on Instagram. On top of this, Instagram's community aspect is a big draw for Reels, for me personally, because I obviously like to see what my friends send me. But also, now that you can see which Reels your friends have liked, I do feel like that is very telling, even though it has exposed, I feel like, a lot of people. I do think that this community aspect would carry across, to be fair, in the same way that Threads will send you a notification anytime your friend or someone you follow posts on the platform. So I don't think that will entirely go away. Anyway, that is everything from me today. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I'm feeling a bit rusty, so hopefully it was fine. But I will see you next Wednesday, and Lauren will speak to you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.